I'm the Doctor. I'm a Time Lord. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Castorberus.
I hope the ears are a bit less conspicuous this time.
You might be a doctor, but I am
I'm a doctor, but probably not the one who looks good. Absolutely fantastic.
All of time and space, everything that ever happened or ever will. Where do you want to start?
Hello everybody and welcome back to Bigger on the Inside, the New Who Doctor Who Watch On podcast. We're back, Harry. It's us. Hello.
Hello.
A little different setup this week. If for some reason it doesn't sound as good as normal or as bad as normal, that's because we had some problems with Zoom, so we're trying to be inventative.
More specifically, we had a problem with my Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I don't know why I was taking credit for that. It wasn't my fault.
This is my fault. For once.
Here we go. Doctor Who, don't stop, never stop rocking. Doctor Who news all the time. I'm still doing the catchphrase. Lots of news. First thing I'm going to mention is that I mentioned it last week in like the midst of all the craziness that went on. William Grantham, the creator of the Absorbaloff, also known as what, Harry?
Channel Pup.
Yeah, he came onto the show and we got to talk to him about creating the Absorbaloff. That'll go out sometime around when Love and Monsters goes out, I imagine, during that week. So you'll be able to check that out in 5 weeks' time, I want to say, sometime around then. Also, if you're on the YouTube channel and for some reason some of the YouTube videos don't seem to be there, I listed a fair few of them, but they're still available through playlists. So you can
Why
still
is it
get
you
them
unlisted them?
Some of them just looks random, and some of them only had like 8 views. Like the really early ones.
So to make the channel look better.
Yes, and also on the last couple of podcasts for Series 2 anyway, I've added chapters. I worked out how to do that, so I was able to add chapters.
Oh, neat. Brilliant. I was saying that'd be good.
Yeah. Lots of news this week, lots of fun, exciting news. Let's start off with probably what caught a lot of people's attention early on. Russell T Davies, a very early script by him, is being adapted into a Big Finish story.
Yeah, I remember I saw him tweeting about this. It must have been like a month or two ago, saying that he'd found it, and he was kind of sharing a couple of pages from it.
Yeah, I think it was originally from a watch-along, like the tweet-along stuff they've been doing on Twitter.
Yes, I think that was it, yeah.
I'm not honestly sure what the episode was for, but I know he found it, tweeted it out, and then basically, obviously, Big Finish have got in touch, and they're going to be adapting a Russell T Davies early Doctor Who story into a Big Finish adventure. My question is, though, what Doctor do you think it's going to be?
That's the question. My understanding of the story is that he wrote it with the intention of it being made for the TV show at the time, so I imagine it would have been either Colin Baker or Sylvester McCoy's Doctor it was intended for.
Yeah. Unless he wrote back to his childhood.
I'm not sure. I feel like that he wrote it with the intention of kind of submitting it to the BBC for it to be made into a TV episode.
Oh, that's interesting. So it could be Colin, and then again, if depending on what Big Finish's upcoming schedule looks like, it could actually be adapted to a different Doctor, I guess.
Yeah. All that I really know about the episode is that it eventually, I think through quite rigorous redrafts and changes, became eventually the long game.
Oh, God.
I know neither of us are massive fans of the long game, but for all we know, maybe the initial draft for the episode has some interesting stuff going on, or maybe a more streamlined structure. Who knows?
Originally wrote in 1985, it was originally wrote, so he probably went and saw Back to the Future. Who was the Doctor in 1985? I'll have a look. Who was Doctor Who in 1985? It was Colin Baker.
Right, so it would have been a Colin Baker story.
It would have been. I'm just trying to find his tweet because he put out a little tweet with it on, but I can't find it. Oh well. Moving on, other Russell T Davies news. He wants to see Doctor Who sort of evolve into sort of an MCU type layout.
Does he?
Yeah, he mentioned that he thinks there's all these characters and all these different worlds that it's quite restricting just to have just the main show, which I guess is quite true because when he was in charge, we had Torchwood,
Sarah Jane Adventures,
Sarah Jane
Torchwood.
Adventures. Yeah.
Obviously, there have been a lot of spin-offs throughout the years. Obviously, kind of Sarah Jane and Torchwood are kind of the most successful ones. I know. Did Stephen Moffat create Class?
I honestly couldn't say. I don't know who created Class.
Class was definitely during his run. So
It was, but I don't know how much
Yeah.
involvement he had with it. But then
and
again,
then,
that
of course,
didn't
currently
really work.
with the Chibnall era, there are no spin-offs of any kind.
No, it'll be fun. I know there's been a few cancelled spin-offs, so it would be cool to sort of have a look into shows that actually never even made it to air.
Yeah, because just when he says something like MCU scale, obviously the MCU is more than just kind of like a handful. It's not just kind of Iron Man, Captain America, and say Thor. There's like so many different branching shows. And is that what Russell has in mind? Does Russell want just like a whole TV network's worth of Doctor Who programming?
I'm not sure. Maybe he used just like the example I always go to is Jenny. Like how cool it would be to see Jenny again. And for her to have her own adventures. And then see, you could have Jenny, Torchwood, you could have catch up with with Sarah Jane's friends, Luke, Clyde, Rani. And then I guess
remember at one
if
point
you really
people
wanted, you could then bring back classic Doctors and give them their own adventures as well.
I was about to say, I remember at one point, I think kind of around either An Adventure in Space and Time or Twice Upon a Time, or maybe both, people were saying they'd quite like David Bradley to be in a series just playing the First Doctor and a bunch of First Doctor adventures.
That'd be great. Yeah, especially when you look at the Eighth Doctor as well. Give him like a limited run series, like a mini series.
Although, of course, I guess there's always the argument that if you want that kind of expanded universe, that's what Big Finish is for. Because kind of everything we've just said, you can definitely find and more with Big Finish audio dramas.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. But I think one reason we probably won't see something like that is just BBC budget probably won't allow it.
Yeah, I feel like unless Doctor Who maybe got back to the heights that it was at during the Tennant era, I don't think the BBC would even consider doing anything like that anytime soon.
Yeah. I've got a quote here from Russell. He says, there should be a Doctor Who channel now. You look at all these Disney announcements and all these Star Wars and Marvel shows, and you think we should be sitting around here, the return of Donna Noble, and you should have the 10th and 11th Doctor together in a 10-part series. Genuinely. Those examples are rubbish, but I think I know what he means.
Are those the examples that Russell gave?
Yeah, the return of Donna Noble.
They're quite pie in the sky.
It's a comedy. It's just her walking around London, just missing everything.
Wait, are these Russell's ideas or just like people online?
That's Russell. That's a quote from Russell.
Really?
Yeah. Talking of things returning, a lot of the news we've got this week is returning. Did you catch that fun little trailer with Sylvester McCoy?
Yes, I did. That was very, I liked that a lot.
It was great, wasn't it? For those who haven't seen it, it's they're bringing out Series 24 remastered Blu-ray, DVD and all that. And for the fun trailer that they released online, the Doctor is reunited with Melanie Bush. And by that, we actually mean they actually got Sylvester McCoy, put him in his original Doctor Who outfit, stuck him in front of the camera, and he was the 7th Doctor again. And it was as if nothing had changed.
I mean, obviously, like, you look at a Doctor such as an actor like Colin Baker, and you put him back in the costume, it doesn't quite work. But other than the fact, he's got a few wrinkles, Sylvester McCoy still very much looks like the 7th Doctor. It works.
Oh, 100%. I would love to see him return. Sylvester McCoy and Jodie Whittaker, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and he's still got it. Like, he was full of energy, he was playing with spoons. The only thing that makes me think it won't happen is that, you kind of get this trend, or at least I notice it, that the BBC don't seem to hold classic Doctors to the same esteem as the modern Doctors, with the exception of Tom Baker.
Yeah. Well, when they did Day of the Doctor, they originally wanted... Moffat originally thought, well, if we can't have Chris, we'll have Paul McGann. And the BBC were like, no. You promised us the Olympics of Doctor Who, so you got to come up with something. But I think a lot of fans would have... John Hurt's amazing, don't get me wrong. But I feel like if you asked people at the time, do you want Paul McGann to return or do you want a new Doctor to sit between the two? What do you want? More people would have said, I'll have Paul McGann back, please.
Yeah. Well, because Paul McGann was kind of done dirty. You know, he entered the series at kind of not the best time with the TV movie that didn't do well enough in the West for it to go anywhere. And then you saw him in Night of the Doctor, and he was like great, and he's a brilliant screen presence. And
yeah,
you know, it also screws with the canon less to just have it be Paul McGann.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know why they don't think people want that. Because I know kids. Well, I hate it when I say that. I know kids. It's such a weird thing. But I know a kid, and his favourite Doctor is Christopher Eccleston, and this kid's probably about 7, so he wasn't even born when Eccleston was Doctor Who. And to him, Eccleston will be a classic Doctor, so he's probably going to be more than aware who Paul McGann is. So bring Paul McGann back.
I mean, if you think about kids, talking about kids watching the show, I feel like they don't really care about how famous or well regarded the actor playing the Doctor is. The Doctor is the Doctor. I think to a kid, all actors who've played the Doctor are held in the same quite high regard, you know?
Yeah. It's only when you get to our age and sort of interesting media perks that you suddenly start thinking, okay, well, they wouldn't do it because they're too famous, or why would they do it? Nobody knows who they are. But to a kid, it's like, who's Matt Smith? When Matt Smith was announced, I had no idea who he was, because I was too young to sort of know. But by the time Peter Capaldi came around, I was rooting for him as a Doctor. I was like, I want Capaldi. And then when Whittaker came around, I obviously knew who Jodie was because of Broadchurch. And yeah, but now I feel like when you're a kid, you don't care. You don't care the caliber of the actor.
Yeah, it's the new Doctor. It's the next Doctor. It's exciting whoever it is.
Another possible return, well, not confirmed by the BBC, but she has said she would 100% love to return to play the role of Sally Sparrow, is Carey Mulligan, who we only ever saw once in Blink as the amazing Sally Sparrow. She was recently asked if she would return to Doctor Who, and she said she would love to return to play Sally Sparrow.
I mean, the Weeping Angels are coming back in Series 13. I mean, obviously, seeing as that episode's already in production, she probably won't be appearing as Sally Sparrow, but actually, wouldn't that be great if, Sally Sparrow kind of, after the events of Blink, kind of went on this whole Weeping Angel hunting escapade and had all those adventures, and then they meet up with the Doctor and they're like, Doctor, you have to help me, there are angels. That'd be a great way to reintroduce her.
It would be great. I also like the idea. We spoke about it last week where we said about Stephen Moffat and Russell returning. You said it last week. This will be the first Weeping Angel story to not be written by Stephen Moffat. But how do we know that?
How do we know that Stephen Moffat hasn't written this episode? I mean, that would be insane, wouldn't it? If
if they just announced it.
We turn on the thing and it says by Stephen Moffat.
Yeah, it would be amazing. Another bit of news we got is the Big Finish. They have done some other work with the Cybermen. This is from Nerdvana. This March, Big Finish Productions is adapting the original scripts that of what became the 1975 Doctor Who story, Revenge of the Cybermen, as Return of the Cybermen, a full-cast audio drama starring Tom Baker, reprising his role of the Fourth Doctor, and Sadie Miller, standing in for her late mother, Elizabeth Sladen, as Sarah Jane Smith. Today, the BBC released a trailer and such. So what the Big Finish have done is they have got the original script for a... I've clicked on a thing, now I can hear the trailer. Ooh, I did not like that. The BBC had a script for a Cyberman story. It was then heavily adapted into a new story. Big Finish have got their hands on the original story and they're turning that into an audio drama. What do you think of that?
It depends on how different that original script is. Because if it's only kind of got a few differences for curiosity's sake, then I can't help but feel that it probably isn't worth adapting. But if that original draft is wildly different in lots of ways, then yeah, sure, I'm all for it. Big Finish is a cool way to kind of archive those things and kind of bring them to life in a new way.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's fun to sort of go, what if? What would have happened if that had happened? Like Chris with Doctor Who. The amount of people who go, what if he was in Day of the Doctor? Maybe one day we might get to see that original script and it will be... published and we might actually get to see it, but who knows until then.
I feel especially with a show as expansive and with so many kind of logistics of kind of casting and writing as Doctor Who, what ifs are especially fun because really the possibilities are endless. You have all of space and all of time. You can just what if it to the end of, days.
The end of days. That just I
was going to say the end of time, but I already said time in that sentence, and I was like, no, I want this to be a more interesting sentence.
I was gonna. I'll tell you what we could talk about. Slightly weird. Barry. Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees.
Barry Gibb. I mean, I know of the Bee Gees.
Yeah, well, he's hinted that he once had sex in the TARDIS on the night he met his wife.
I'm going to need a bit more information, Tim.
Barry Gibb has hinted that he had sex in the Doctor Who TARDIS the night he met his wife. The Bee Gees singer connected with his met his model at the BBC. I'm just trying to find... We saw each other across the room and something happened. And we had a bit of a cuddle in Doctor Who's TARDIS, surrounded by Daleks. Bit weird, isn't it?
It's a fun story. Does that count as Doctor Who news?
I googled Doctor Who and it appeared. So
sure,
I was we'll
I feel like, for all of these news bits, you'd be like, so Harry, what do you think of this? But there's not really anything to say about that, is there? So Harry, what do you think? Well, I think that Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees had sex in the TARDIS. Does that mean that Does that mean that Barry Gibb and his future wife's kid is like River Song, where they've got like TARDIS energy?
I don't know. I don't really want to think about it. It's a bit weird.
Barry Gibb's,
I did have another bit of...
child can regenerate. I was just going to say, I just said the child of Barry Gibb can regenerate.
Into what? Extra Gibb?
I don't know, into River Song. Into Alex Kingston.
I did have some more news, but I can't find it because the link to the Sun has been taken down, and it was that Jodie Whittaker would be Jodie Whittaker would be staying as she would be staying on as Doctor Who, but they've taken the link down, and I can no longer access the news. I can read you the headline.
What was the headline? That she'd be staying on and not.
Yeah, that she would be staying on as Doctor Who. I'm just trying to find it now. Jodie Whittaker won't quit Doctor Who as rumours exit blasted as total nonsense by Series 13 Insider.
Okay. I mean, if that is the case, then a lot of our videos are going to soon become real outdated.
I've got all those red circle PNG files. What am I going to do with them?
It's fine. When she actually does announce she's stepping down, we can just make even more speculation videos and just do the same content again.
I can. I'll just upload the same videos. Chris Marshall, Richard Ayoade, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and so on. I'm all out of news. You got any news, Harry?
Like, in my life?
No, Doctor Who news, really.
Tim, you there?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of news do you want from me? Like, news? Like, what's going on in Harry's life news?
Not really. I don't think anyone really is that interested in that. Mainly Doctor Who news.
I could make up some Doctor Who news.
Go for it.
Karen Gillan, in an interview upon asking about her thoughts on the new series of Doctor Who, said, "Lamau, I don't watch that shit. I'm not a nerd." Of course, I'm only paraphrasing. Karen Gillan said it in a Scottish accent.
I think you can do that.
No, I don't. I don't feel like my Scottish accent is up to scrub yet.
No, do it. You gotta do it now. Otherwise, we're stalling for time.
So, I mean, can we not have a new segment that's just 20 minutes long, like a reasonable time, or does that not fly on Bigger on the Inside?
No, we are going to wrap this one up. I'm going to straight up apologise. This news segment today, guys, has been almost appalling. I imagine the audio is shocking. You might never actually.
It was
hear
better than
this.
last week.
No, this has been rubbish compared to last week.
Last week was like delirium.
Yeah, but I can hardly hear what you're saying. This is how bad it is.
Oh right, well, I'll send. I've got a USB mic up recording onto my laptop, so I guess I can send that to you once we're done.
We do have that, so you might hear this. Who knows? I was really hoping we could have talked some more about Jodie Whittaker staying on, but unfortunately the link's gone down. If it goes back up, we'll get our red circles out and we'll do an extra little video on that, I'm guessing. So, do you want to segue into Girl in the Fireplace, Harry?
Yeah. How to segue into Girl in the Fireplace?
I don't know about you, Harry, but it's
Tim?
rather cold in my flat.
Oh, is it, Tim?
Yes.
Maybe you should light a fire in your fireplace. Do you have a fireplace?
I do, but there's a small girl sitting inside of it. Should I set her alight?
You want to set a girl alight in your fireplace?
Well, there's a girl in the fireplace. Ah, I did it. Enjoy it, everybody.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut it up!
This is a command from the Daleks. All listeners are demanded to subscribe to our Patreon. Subscribe or you will be exterminated. Seek, locate, subscribe.
What's the point in having you all?
Oh, that was really sad news what we just talked about there, wasn't it, Harry? Really, really sad news.
Yeah, man, heartbreaking.
Who would have thought?
I didn't think Sylvester McCoy had it in him to do something like that, but I guess you don't really know a guy until...
Yeah, anyway. We'll try and...
How many banks was it? 3 banks?
Yeah, I think it was more than that. I lost count after the 6.
Yeah.
It's the children I feel sorry for.
Yeah, the orphanage is like completely broke now.
Well, let's try and lift our spirits by talking about Doctor Who Series 2, Episode 4, which is called what, Harry?
The Girl in the Fireplace by Stephen Moffat.
Who?
I don't know. I think he's written for the show before. He's a guy.
Doubt it. Yeah, we're going to do Girl in the Fireplace, Series 2, Episode 4, written by Stephen Moffat, starring David Tennant as the Doctor and Sophie Miles, or Males, I believe her surname is, as Madame de Pompadour. Pompadour or how do you pronounce it?
Madame de Pompadour?
Yeah, same here. We'll go with that.
I always called her Madame Pompadour. Because...
Yeah, that's what I suddenly realised when I said it. I was like, I don't want to be saying that. Really good episode. Really enjoyed it. It's Stephen Moffat. Last time we saw him was The Empty Child, the Doctor Dances. So it's really nice to see another episode of that. There were some similarities with that, which I drew from, which I'll come to later. But what did you think, Harry?
Well, I I I don't know. Every time I watch this episode, I don't know what to make of it. I
Oh,
don't hate
really?
it by any means, no, but it like it's got a lot of really clever ideas and like a lot of great set pieces, a lot of really good bits of writing. For some reason, the whole thing doesn't connect with me though. I don't know why that is. Maybe we'll
That's
figure it
strange.
out.
Because this is normally like a fan favorite episode, isn't it? This is one that people really enjoy, Girl in the Fireplace.
Yeah, but this is the one Moffat episode from the RTD era which for some reason just doesn't land with me. And I can't figure out why. I just can't.
Okay, well,
Maybe it's
sorry, go on.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
So I really liked the opening of this episode, the pre-title sequence. I saw in Confidential, Moffat said every 2 minutes he really wanted people to sort of regain interest, and I think he does do that by the pre-title sequence. You're like, what's going on? Then we're on a spaceship. Then we're in France. Then we're back on a spaceship. Then there's a horse. Now she's old. Now there's clockwork droids. Now there's a brain in a spaceship. There's something every 2 minutes that keeps you coming back and keeps you asking more questions. We may as well get it out of the way. Mickey Smith, his first proper trip in the TARDIS.
He's loving it.
He's
having
great,
a
isn't he?
time. Yeah.
I really like it when he gets out. When he gets out the TARDIS, he says, "I got a spaceship on my first go," like it was like a lottery what he would get. He's like, "Can't believe how lucky he is." And then there's that scene
They
as
could have
well.
very easily.
Yeah, go on.
They could have very easily gone the route of him being like overwhelmed and like kind of hating it and missing home, but they don't. They kind of let him really enjoy it and breathe and kind of. It's just nice. It's refreshing. I like. We've been very open about how much we like Mickey as a character. So if Mickey's having a good time, then I'm having a good time. You know.
I also feel like maybe he's not overwhelmed because he is somewhat numb to some alien life. Has he met Slovene? He's met Killer Christmas Trees, Killer Santas. He met the Sycorax. He went on their spaceship. So he's done a fair amount of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
I really like the scene where he's got the gun and he does a little roll down the stairs and he's like looking around.
Yeah.
It's quite strange following on from School Reunion where Rose is quite apprehensive about Mickey joining, but she doesn't seem to mind that much in this episode.
I mean, no, maybe Rose is kind of bracing herself for kind of him to be kind of dragging at his feet, for him to be kind of moping.
Yeah.
But maybe kind of maybe she was pleasantly surprised by the fact that Mickey was kind of all into all this space stuff now.
Yeah, because I've completely forgot what I was about to say. Oh, because maybe the element of the story with the Doctor being wooed by Madame de Pompadour, that she's sort of maybe not jealous, but she sort of understands that even though there is a romantic interest between the two of them, she still has Mickey.
Yeah. Mickey's the fallback.
Yeah, not to diss Mickey. I also jumping ahead a little bit to the end of the episode where we'll come back to it later, where Madame de Pompadour dies. I think that reflects quite well on what the Doctor said in School Reunion to Rose, where he said to Rose that he can't travel with Rose forever because she'll die. And you literally see that happen in this episode over the course of 45 minutes. He meets someone new, falls in love, and then they die.
Yeah. One thing I have to actually commend this episode for, which is that the fact that this episode leads on from School Reunion really quite neatly, which could surprise me because both episodes were written by completely different writers and neither of them are written by Russell T Davies, but they've been kind of put together in a way that one leads quite naturally into the other. Yeah. So just in a whole kind of head writing compositional series structure thing, I think that's really impressive.
Yeah. Okay, so if we go back to the start of the episode, it reminds me a little bit of when we spoke about the Unquiet Dead with their historical costumes. I think the way they depict 51st century France is really good. It looks obviously I wasn't there, so I can't say, but it just looks really appealing. And I think as a kid when I first watched this, I didn't find it boring. The fact that it was set in the past and people were wearing these big costumes and wigs, and because if you were to show a kid that, they might be slightly bored by it. But I think it's a testament to Stephen Moffat's writing that it manages to keep you interested, even though a bulk of the episode is quite historical.
Yeah. I mean, Moffat is never one to just kind of settle for a historical period. This is kind of the first glimpse we get into Moffat's time traveling shenanigans, where quite unlike any other Doctor Who writer I can think of, Moffat really likes to play with those time travel conventions.
Yeah, he does.
So here we've got like a ship that has like gateways into the past, but then the way that the time in the past passes is faster than it passes in the future.
Yeah.
And it gave me a little bit of a headache trying to figure out how exactly it worked. Like when you're in the past, does time in the future pass really slowly, or does it pass at the same rate? Like when you're looking through a window or a mirror into the past, they are both seeming to be going at the same time. So is it only when you're looking at the past that...
Yeah, because sometimes
I think that might be part...
Yeah. He would be away from the fireplace for about 5 seconds, and he'd come back and be like 30 years later. And sometimes he'd be gone for like a minute and a half, then he'd come back and it'd only be a few weeks. So I think maybe that's just if you were really going to be picky, look into it, you could pick holes in the time travel element. But all in all, I think it's an interesting idea. The scene where he's looking at the young Madame de Pompadour through the fireplace at the start of the episode. My understanding is that when you travel in the TARDIS, it translates any foreign language into English for you to understand. So why?
Universal translator.
So why when we're seeing young Madame de Pompadour talk, does she speak perfect English with a slight French accent, but then say the odd French word like monsieur?
I guess it's just to give a bit. I guess kind of similarly to the time travel. You kind of have to have a little suspension of disbelief with this episode and Moffat's writing, and I guess that's just kind of to make her language a bit more characterful.
Maybe it's as well to tell the audience they're speaking French. Because if Mickey just went, she's speaking French when she's actually speaking English, but by just adding monsieur at the end, it reminds us that we're in France.
Absolutely. And I feel like monsieur... I don't know. I feel like there's probably some quirky British people who say the word monsieur.
Oh yeah, they wear bowler hats though, and monsieur. They're weirdos.
I feel like you know someone specifically.
I feel like
who
I
wears
probably
a bowler
do.
hat and calls people monsieur.
No, but I feel like I could depict him. He probably carries a flute around as well.
Are you sure this isn't like a leaked 14th Doctor?
That wouldn't be bad. I really like the scene as well where the Doctor just makes up a word because he doesn't want to say magic door.
Oh yeah.
It's a really...
That's the thing, I guess, like it's kind of to the script and the Doctor's admission that they don't entirely get how this time travel thing is working, but just go along with it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what you got to do.
Yeah, what do you think to the clockwork droids then?
I thought they were very cool designs.
They are, aren't they?
Like the way they take off the masks and like you see all like the clockwork like insides of the brain. I thought that was really cool. Kind of a little, I want to say steampunky, but it feels a bit more specific than just steampunk.
Yeah. This was the only episode as a kid that I ever remember Doctor Who actually scaring me. This is the only time.
Did you find them scary?
Yeah, it wasn't so much that I found them scary. It's that sequence where he first meets one of them under the bed. And the hand just jabs out like that. And I knew it, and I remember that scaring me as a kid. And I remember watching it going, oh, this used to really make me crap myself as a kid. And then it happened about half an hour ago as I'm watching it, and it caught me out again, like 15 years later. And I went, oh.
I know that's something that Moffat's kind of gone on record saying, like, he really likes to do. He really likes to kind of exploit, like, children's, like, basic fears, like, fears of, like, if there's a monster under your bed, or like fears of like statues, scary statues.
I think that's what Doctor Who's at its best is when it makes everyday things terrifying.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
What was I going to say here? Okay, so earlier I mentioned that I noticed a few not a few callbacks, but a few things that are going to echo through Moffat's story. So when the Doctor notices the clock's broken, but he can still hear the ticking noise, he knows something's wrong. In The Empty Child, sorry about that. In The Empty Child, the tape deck runs out, but he can still hear the Empty Child saying, "Are you my mummy?" In, I think it's in the 11th hour, they're in a room and there's a door that's never been opened. If there's and then in the Lodger episode with James Corden, there's a hole upstairs to the house that shouldn't actually be there. He seems to play around with things being so obvious that you wouldn't notice them being wrong.
Although I'm pretty sure the Lodge episode wasn't Moffat, that was written by Gareth Roberts.
You're right there, yeah. But like there just seems to be that element of something just not quite being right.
Yeah, that kind of little slightly unnervingness about it.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
I noticed a much more simple callback, which was bananas are good.
I
that
did
was
pick up on that, yes.
I picked up on.
Yeah, when's that? That's the knife toss. Is it with Jack?
Yeah.
How does that? What is that?
The Ninth Doctor says that bananas are good and that you should, that because they're a good source of potassium. And I think he used them to get them out of the sitch. And
That's
David
it,
Tennant's Doctor, and the 10th Doctor thinks that says you should always bring a banana to a party. He doesn't give any context beyond that, so I don't. Maybe that's not worth thinking into.
This is a really good 10th Doctor episode, I feel. He gets a lot of play in this. I really like the scene where he tells Madame de Pompadour that even monsters have nightmares, and she asks what the monsters have nightmares about, and he says me. And then he spins the clock, he spins the fireplace around, and he disappears.
Yeah, that's another kind of trope of Moffat's that you see a lot in his series, of the whole kind of talking of the Doctor in with that certain grandeur, you know. Madame de Pompadour speaks very, very highly of the Doctor as this kind of mythical, larger than life character, which to her he is. He's this mysterious figure who pops in and out of her life. So it kind of makes sense that she kind of regards him in this way, as this kind of almost omnipotent, all-powerful being.
Yeah. I really like the scene as well where he takes the head off the clockwork droid and he's looking at the space age clockwork. It really reminded me of when he sees the werewolf and he is just amazed at the creation that he's seeing rather than its danger. That seems to be something that Doctor really sort of plays around with, is the fact that the Ninth Doctor, there was that element that he really enjoyed space and alien life, but this Doctor is much more vocal about his enjoyment of being who he is.
Yeah, I think that's part of the 10th Doctor's appeal, that he has that really contagious enthusiasm about things.
Another callback to a Moffat thing, not a callback, call forward, is Madame de Pompadour describes the Doctor as her imaginary friend, which when we get to Amy Pond, the Doctor is her imaginary friend. So I think this episode is almost every egg Moffat has ever owned being placed into one basket.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe that's why this episode doesn't sit right with me, because while I like the Moffat era, I think there are a lot of elements of it that I'm less keen on compared to the Russell era. And I think maybe this episode, I couldn't help but think of those. And it kind of reminded me of what in some cases are my least favorite aspects of Moffat's future writing.
Yeah, no, I agree. One thing that always used to catch me out with this episode as a kid was the fact it always took me a long time to see past the fact that Lady Penelope is Madame de Pompadour. Are you familiar with my reference?
Penelope just... Pardon?
Lady Penelope in the 2002 Thunderbirds movie is played by Sophie Myles, who also plays Madame de Pompadour in The Girl in the Fireplace.
Wait, the 2002 Two Thunderbirds.
The live-action Thunderbirds movie.
Yeah, no, I know the movie. Like, wait, who in that?
Lady
Madame
Penelope
Pompadour?
is Madame de Pompadour. Lady Penelope, is that right? Yeah, the lady.
Right,
the only
no.
woman.
I can just about remember. Sorry, I've only seen Thunderbirds once,
Oh my.
which is probably more times than you need to see.
It's such a good
Thunderbirds.
movie. Go watch Thunderbirds. It's got a banging soundtrack by Busted. Everyone should go and watch that movie.
You say a banging. It's one good song.
It's good, and it's a good movie. It's got Bill Paxton in it. It's got Ben Kingsley in it. It's got loads of great people.
Thunderbirds Are Go is a jam. It's a bop. Like, I'll listen to that anytime. But the movie, I can't advocate the Thunderbirds movie. I'm sorry.
It's a good movie. Don't listen to Harry. He doesn't like Girl in the Fireplace. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Anyway,
I don't dislike.
The Doctor is instantly in love when he sees Madame de Pompadour. As soon as he finds out who she actually is, there's that look in his eye where he just suddenly falls in love with this woman. And I don't think we've seen that before.
Well, except for, Rose. Although he seems to have all but forgotten about Rose in this episode.
Well, yeah, this is what I was going to say. When he finds out he's trapped in 51st century France, he doesn't give a shit about Rose and Mickey, who he's just left abandoned on this spaceship 3,000 years in the future.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting take. I find it baffling. It's kind of, for me, that seems slightly out of character because I feel like it's made quite abundantly clear that in all other episodes that the 10th Doctor is very much in love with Rose. So for this episode, for him to really give very little of a monkeys about her.
Mind your language, Harry.
I'm sorry. Very little of a chimpanzee about her.
Whilst we're talking of apes, did you pick up on the line where the Doctor says not wandering off, which is sort of a callback to Eccleston, where he says, one day I'll meet someone who gets a whole not wandering off thing?
What's that got to do with apes?
Didn't he call Rose an ape? Well, yep.
Called him another stupid ape. Yeah.
I think we would have to talk about the huge snog between Madame de Pompadour and the 10th Doctor. Anytime the Doctor kisses anybody, it's controversial. And I watched in Confidential where Stephen Moffat said, I can completely understand why people would get upset by this because never in history did Madame de Pompadour kiss an alien.
Okay, I gotta respect that's funny from that.
But it is true, isn't it? The Doctor does just go around kissing, especially the 10th Doctor. He's such a swaggy, charismatic, hopeless, romantic person, isn't he? That you don't really question it. And I know I didn't when I was this, mainly because he's not the one who initiates it. She does.
Yeah. And I think he's especially very kind of dashing and heroic in this episode. He's wearing that suit, he's running about, he smashes through the mirror on a horse.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the horse scene. It's great, isn't it?
Scene?
Of him smashing through. Yeah, of him smashing through the window. It's great. I was watching on Confidential, they were talking about they were going to film it for real, like this horse jumps through a hole in the wall or whatever. And then 2 days before they found out they weren't actually allowed to have the horse in the ballroom, so they had to scrap the full scene. And the whole scene wasn't going to be in the episode. And Jodie Gardner, the producer, phoned up Stephen to tell him it wasn't going to be in the episode. And apparently he just started crying on the other side of the phone, for a bit of a tantrum. And then in the end they went, okay, we best do it. And apparently
if they got what he wanted.
Exactly. And apparently it was extremely expensive because they had to film everybody in the hall reacting to nothing, then film a blue screen window exploding, then book out a stable, paint everything green, film David Tennant on a horse, and film a stunt double on a horse. So that was 5 additional shooting days that they suddenly had on their schedule because Stephen Moffat really wanted to have the Doctor on a horse.
Well, it made for a cool visual.
It did. Russell said it's great, but it's something he never wrote because it's important for. He says when a writer becomes too connected to the actual production, you start writing about what you know can actually be filmed. Russell said he would never have wrote that because he knew they wouldn't be able to film it, which he said works sometimes, but it also limits your storytelling ability. Whereas because Steven's not in charge of budget and he doesn't know that, he just writes what he wants.
That's interesting to think about because it feels like that almost carried on over into when Stephen Moffat was showrunner. I feel like the stories generally in the Moffat era were much more willing to go to higher concept places to be more ambitious, more flashy.
Yeah.
And that is something I do appreciate about the Moffat era. And I guess it's quite admirable that even though he was the one calling the shots and he was the one the head of production and showrunning, he didn't let that get in the way of his creative vision.
Oh, no, not at all. Is it me or was the Doctor really rubbish at hiding behind that wall?
Which wall?
The wall where Madame de Pompadoure's walking in the garden with her friend and the 10th Doctor just keeps popping up behind. And every time she turns around, you can clearly see that he's hiding behind a wall because you can see his legs.
Does he even want to hide, though?
I don't know. I feel like it's that I'm going to hope she knows that I know she's not looking sort of thing. It's that sort of endless mind game.
Yeah.
The Doctor dances. That sort of gets a call back with Lady Penelope, with Madame de Pompadour asking the Doctor if she would dance with him. Is that just Stephen Moffat's code word for sex? Is that what he's doing now?
Yes, it is. I'm not even gonna try and hide it. That's entirely what Moffat's getting at. Yeah.
There was a scene where I thought, we're getting quite close to seeing the Doctor have sex with someone here, and it's when at the end when Madame de Pompadour walks him into her bedroom, and the only thing that stops anything happening is the fact that the fireplace is in there.
Yeah,
I think it's quite bold for Moffat to go that far to suggest that something like that would even enter the Doctor's mind.
Okay, this is gonna be weird. I'm fine with the Doctor snogging people, but for some reason mentally, I draw the line out of the Doctor getting more intimate than that.
Yeah, but I think
so
also, maybe because he's the hero, isn't he? You never think of him like that in the same way you never think of Batman in that way, and you never think of,
I feel
Superman.
like it makes sense for Batman to do the dance.
Also, Doctor's, let's face it, it's a kid's show, isn't it? So they're never going to go that far.
Yeah, it's a family show as well. So maybe there's something where Batman can appeal to a variety of ages. Something about the family-friendly Doctor Who doing the dance doesn't sit right with me.
I also like the scene where Mickey asks the Doctor, he says, what's a horse doing on a spaceship? And the Doctor turns around and says, what's 51st century France doing on a spaceship, Mickey? Get your priorities straight. But when you think about it, that makes the fact that a horse is there raises more questions than 51st century France, because that's so far removed. But a horse from Earth on a spaceship is more. I would ask more questions about that.
Yeah.
I
think
go on.
I think the fact that kind of the 15th century France was always through a doorway or a window, whereas the horse was just right there, occupying the same space as them. It kind of made it a bit more disconcerting.
Yeah. The drunk Doctor. That's great, isn't it? David Tennant's drunk.
That's a fun scene.
How long was he gone for, or how quickly does he get drunk?
I feel like he must have been stayed there for the whole party.
He must have been there a while, or just got smashed. But again, he didn't think about Rose or Mickey while he was getting drunk. He didn't think, I best go look after my friends. Something could have happened to them. He's like, I'll just stay here and get pissed.
Well, I guess to him, because time was passing really slowly in the past, if by the time he got back, barely any time will have passed to him at least.
I like the bit where he just goes, he calls them thick, and then he goes, and so's your dad.
Such a juvenile response, but
it is, isn't it?
It works.
The episode is funny, but there's a couple of scenes in it that are quite moving scenes. One scene in particular where Madame de Pompadour hears the screams and she knows it's going to be from her future, but she can't. Go for it.
I don't know. So I was just going to say that's just a really cool moment, and it's a really effective way of using time travel, not just for cool storytelling, but also to kind of have that kind of emotional beat. Without time travel as a plot device, you wouldn't be able to have that moment.
And it looks cool as well, seeing someone in those period costumes on a futuristic set. The juxtaposition between the two is just interesting and appealing in itself.
Yeah, can't but make you think. Do you wish that New Who would have like a companion from a time period that isn't modern day?
Well, they used to do that, didn't they? Like he had Romana,
yeah.
and
Jamie, of course.
Yeah, and Jamie, yeah. So I think it would be fun. We haven't, had we? No, we haven't had anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know where Nardol's from. I think he's from the future somewhere, but.
So this is kind of I think this is the first time, or one of the first times in New Who that there's been an open invitation from someone who isn't from present day to come traveling on the TARDIS with the Doctor.
Just trying to think. What did we have? I feel like no. What about the girl in the 2-part finale of series 1, B-Tech Rose?
But she's from the future.
Yeah, so she's from the future. Yeah, but you're right. Nobody from the past ever really gets invited to come and join them. They get teased with stuff, don't they? Like they maybe get to see the TARDIS fly off, but they don't actually get invited.
What this made me think of this time actually was going back to kind of Moffat call forwards. Is that reminded me a lot of the was it called The Snowmen, the Christmas special with Matt Smith?
Yeah,
where we meet the Victorian era Clara.
Yeah,
and that she was going to go traveling with the Doctor, but then she also died, but she died of snowman instead of dying of age.
But what about Rose? I thought Rose and the Doctor were travelled forever.
No, sorry, ignore me. I was thinking of a different show.
Okay.
I was thinking of Professor Watts.
He's
different show with Matt Smith. Matt Smith has never been on Doctor Who.
Oh.
So, yeah.
I really like, when I was watching this, I sort of came up with the idea that I'd really like to see a what if series of Doctor Who, where it's what if she travelled with the Doctor? What if the Doctor stayed there? What if he'd never met? What if he didn't do this? What if she didn't do that? And just sort of play out different scenarios of what could have been. I think that'd be really interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many like massive things that happen in just any Doctor Who episode that you could take pretty much any Doctor Who episode and make a whole what if scenario about it.
Yeah, that's probably true. That he doesn't really learn about the fact that the fireplace has a different time zone, does he? When he's like, wait there, I'll come back, pack your bags at the end of the episode. I was sort of like, oh, you're an idiot. How have you not worked this out yet?
Yeah. I mean, and I guess by doing that, he wouldn't then be able to go back to before she died in TARDIS, because that would have created like one of those Father's Day style rifts.
That's true. But I feel like Rose has worked that out, because the camera cuts to Rose and she looks quite sad. And I thought, well, you could either read it that she's jealous or that she knows that this isn't going to end well. And I think it's that one, because when they then go into the TARDIS, they don't ask where she is.
Yeah.
They can see.
Yeah, she kind of figured that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the relationship between Rose and Madame de Pompadour in this episode? Because kind of it starts with something resembling jealousy, but it doesn't feel like, for a big chunk of the episode, it isn't really a jealousy thing. It's definitely, or at least not in the same way that it was with Sarah Jane.
No, because I feel like Rose sort of knows that this isn't going to end well from the very start, so she's just trying to protect both of them while she can. Yeah, I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a good, fun episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because talk about it now, there were a lot of really great moments in the episode. A lot of those of scenes, bits, pieces of dialogue, ideas, but I think are all great.
Yeah.
Just for some reason, when I think of the episode as a whole package, it just leaves me feeling, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a really weird one for me. I can't articulate it. I can't articulate why I feel this way about the episode. And it's not dislike by any means.
No. Well, sorry, go on.
Maybe it's like, for me, it's just a little bit too much being fit into a 40-minute episode. Maybe, I think especially compared to Empty Child and Dr. Dances, which really benefited from being a two-parter and having that double runtime. Maybe if this was a double feature and they fleshed all these ideas out a bit more and it didn't go by so fast, I would like it more. Maybe. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, I put it out on our Instagram page, Bigger on the Pod. Go and give us a follow. I put out what people thought about Girl in the Fireplace, and we'll read some people's thoughts out here. Sam Lanter said it's a classic nostalgic episode. It's great. TARDIS Girl X, 9 out of 10. Love the spinny fireplace. Alex Pierce 2 said it's fantastic. And what else do we have? Vita DeForce Cade said it's not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. Says it's not bad.
I can vibe with that. It's definitely not bad.
It's definitely not bad. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it, Harry? Oh, well, we know, don't we?
Generally.
I'll tell you what Harry does enjoy, though. Harry enjoys a bloody good quiz.
You, not me. I hate being patient. Patience is for wimps.
Oh, yeah. That theme song never gets old.
3 questions, as always. Okay, question number 1. At the start of the episode, what food can the Doctor, Rose, and Mickey smell?
Roast dinner.
I'll give you that. They say Sunday roast, but I'll give you roast dinner. Are you getting arrested? I can hear an ambulance or a police car.
I think it's something on the street down below.
As opposed to the street up high.
Well, it's because, I'm on a high floor in my building.
What year, when the Doctor first talks to young Madame de Pompadour through the fireplace, the very first time, what year does she say she's in?
I'm gonna say 1517.
1727, I'm afraid. Let's see if you can get 2 out of 3 here. What drink does the Doctor claim to have invented?
Oh, I missed that.
This is such a big thing. Everybody knows this. I can't believe you missed this. It's so obvious.
I don't know. Is it like wine or something?
The banana daiquiri.
Of course, bananas are good.
Oh, I picked that and I thought he's gonna know that. I picked 3 really easy questions. 1 out of 3.
Why is like the year an easy question?
Because it's the year the episode is set in, Harry.
The first scene of the episode.
You want to recommend some stuff?
The episode takes place all kinds of years.
That's true. Do you want to recommend some stuff?
Before I go, I just want to tell you were fantastic.
Yeah, recommendations. Ooh.
I'll go first. I'm going to recommend the Amazon Prime series, Oh Cook, which is James May's new cookery program. Up first, I thought this is just going to be quite funny, but it's actually quite good. And there's been some stuff that he's cooked that I've actually thought, oh, that's not too bad. Up to the point where, if I can quickly get it, I bought the cookbook that goes along with the series. There's some quite good recipes in here. What can I have? What can I find in here quickly to show everybody? Minestrone, a nice store cupboard saviours. Victoria's sponge cake, jam roly poly. What else do we have? Curry nights. Ratatouille, chili con carne, fish pie. Just lots of fun little things in there that he seems to really like strip a lot of stuff down. You know, when you watch Jamie Oliver and he's like, this is going to be made of everything that you have in your cupboard, but it never is. James May makes stuff with like tins of leftover tuna and spam and crackers and Walker's crisps and things like that. So it's really good. Definitely recommend checking that out, especially as a student as well. How about you, Harry? What do you have as a suggestion?
Right, I have a recommendation. For like, I feel like you might roll your eyes. It's an anime, but I don't like most animes. For me, I have quite Western tastes in media. So
he loves his
I like this anime. Like, pardon?
You love cowboys, Wild West cowboys.
Yeah, I'm very much about yeehaw, rootin', tootin', shooting.
He always wears those cowboy boots as well. Whenever he walks, he's clanking around.
No, I'm going to recommend Death Note. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't. Or I've
It's,
not even heard of it. I'm going to Google it while you speak.
It's well, the best way to describe it is it's a supernatural psychological crime thriller.
High school student discovers a supernatural notebook that grants its user the ability to kill.
Yeah, it's cool. It's about this kid who gets a notebook where if he writes the name of anyone in it, they die. So he decides to write the name of all criminals of the world in it and kind of become this kind of god who kind of makes the world a better place. But then the world's greatest detective, who goes by the name of L to protect his identity, finds out, well, doesn't find out, but has a suspicion that all these random deaths are murder. And so this whole psychological cat and mouse thing goes on between them. And it's just this kind of really cool kind of game of wits, of one-upmanship. If you're not into anime, don't let the fact there's an anime put you off, because I'm not into anime, and it's really cool, really smart, really well written, really well plotted, and it keeps kind of building and building and building.
It's got some good reviews as well.
Oh yeah, I think in Japan it's like the highest rated anime in Japan.
Is there only the one series?
I think kind of it. Yeah, it's just one series, and it's some people split it into two series, but I think it's all one continuous story because it's based on a manga, and a manga has quite a definitive end point, and it wouldn't really make sense to continue the story beyond where it ends.
Yeah, it's on Netflix here in the UK, so I've just added that to my list. So I'll try.
That's one of the reasons I recommended it, because although a lot of the shows I often recommend are on something like Now TV or Amazon Prime that less people have, but Netflix, I know a lot of people have Netflix, so
yes,
yeah,
cool.
Check this out, and make sure you watch the anime and not the live action movie, because the live action Netflix original movie that was made is not the same thing, and will massively tarnish your impression of what Death Note is.
Yeah, that's true. It did come up as I typed in. There was the two options, but I made sure I added the anime. Well, thanks very much for listening, everyone. We'll wrap this up. If you want to give us a follow on Twitter, you can at Bigger on the Pod. YouTube, Big on the Inside Podcast, acastshows.acast.com/Bigger on the Inside. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Email the show, biggerontheinside@gmail.com. We'll try and read your emails out on the show. We're on Instagram as well, Bigger on the Pod on Instagram, where we do a lot more. There's a lot of fun memes over there, some clips from the episodes, and also when I want to get your opinions on some episodes super soon before we record them, I'll usually put them on there. So go and check that out as well. Do you think they should do all that as well, Harry?
Absolutely. All those things.
Cool.
I do those every day.
You do? Well,
I follow at the end of the day just so I can follow again the next day.
That's true. Maybe don't unfollow, but maybe just keep liking.
Okay. I mean, that doesn't sound quite as exciting.
Yeah, but I'm talking about our listeners who might actually have a life and they might forget to refollow in the morning.
Oh.
You're not like every person, Harry. We've had this discussion before. Not everybody's like you. All right?
I know.
Just try and remember that, all right? When we're talking to people at home.
I know my place. I know
all
my
right,
place.
so we're gonna close the episode now. So you're gonna be good again while we end the episode. You can do your thing like you always do every week, where you shout really loud. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for listening to Big on the Inside, the new Who Doctor You Watched On podcast. We'll be back next week for a 2-part episode, The Age of Steel and Rise of the Cybermen. So come join us for that. Do everything we've already said. Thanks very much for listening. I'll say goodbye. Bye, everybody. Harry, do you want to say goodbye?
Bye-bye.
Oh, that was loud.
Make sure you subscribe to the official Bigger on the Inside podcast.